Wanted to go over a tutorial with you today. We're actually going to be working on this 2008 Kia Sportage. And as you can see, we got a large hit up here on the fender. So we're going to go over and explore some techniques, some tips and techniques throughout this repair process. And we'll just go ahead and jump right in this and get you started right away. That right there would be the main impact area. Jumping back here all the way up into the fender here. Now, like many large dent removals, you know, we don't guarantee for this stuff to be perfect. We just guarantee that it will be perfectly better than taking it to a body shop. And definitely less painful as far as the cost of a repair like this. But that's something that you want to stress when you start doing these large dents, because sometimes metal becomes so stretched and so damaged that, you know, it might not be perfect in your light, but when you look at it in the natural, it'll be just an absolutely beautiful repair when you learn how to master these large hits. So yeah, so we're looking pretty much all the way through the fender. Ripple and wave, ripple and wave. One of the first things that I do on a large dent removal like this is begin checking all of my access points. We definitely got a few really nice points to go in here. I'm going to start off this repair. I'm not going to pull the headlight. I mean, we've got a nice opening right up through here. Got a great leverage point that's steel. It's not plastic, so we don't have to worry about breaking or anything like that on the inside connection here by leveraging against it. We got a couple different plugs up here that I need to explore, and we also have this underliner here that we're just going to pull right back. So definitely lots of options here as far as access goes. I don't necessarily see it important to pull the headlight off at this point. Now, you know, don't hold me to that. Sometimes throughout a repair, you make a decision at the beginning, and then throughout the repair, you begin getting annoyed with whatever position you have to work in, and then you just go ahead and do it. So this right here is the first access point that I was talking about. This right here is made of steel, so it makes a nice leveraging point. This right here is a factory plug that's interesting to me, and we're going to go ahead and pop that off. We will check it and see if it's accessible down in through there. And next point of entry is definitely the under fender liner, okay? This one right here feels very loose. There's literally nothing attaching the fender liner to the inside of the panel. It looks like there may have been something right here at one time and it has disappeared. But we will go ahead and pull that back, and that'll give me an opportunity to even fit my hand up in here and begin. All right, everybody, so I'm getting ready to jump in here and make my first pushes with my hand. Like any repair, you know, I'm going to jump in here and just see how it works out. I may decide to go ahead and switch up my, my plan of attack, of course. But for right now, we're just going to see if I can move a lot of this metal along. I don't have no light on it. Don't need one at this point. We're not doing any kind of defining or definition work. Something I did want to make a note about here is that this is not only just a round dent. This is actually a crease within several round dents. So that's what makes it categorized in definitely a little bit more of an advanced repair. All right, and then obviously the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and push this fender liner aside. Give myself a little bit of room to work in there. It is a little bit tight, but I'm going to be able to get my hand up in there. I'm going to cover it here with this microfiber. Just roll up in here. There we go. All right, so that one's not going anywhere. This one, let me see here. This might end up in the kind of the funny clips. Oh, there we go. I got it. All right. So there we are. I think that is definitely the amount of damage I can get from pushing from the backside and just concentrating all of it. Basically what this did was this took this damage and isolated it into, it appears to be multiple round dents. So now that we've got it moved along at this point, we're actually going to go in and treat every one of these dents as an individual dent. And going to definitely start off with some soft-tipped pushing throughout this repair process. All right, everybody, here we have it. We definitely shallowed this dent up quite a bit. Again, putting it into several round dents that are going to need to be independently repaired. What we have here at this point on some of these larger dents here towards the middle, you can see that there's a crown right there at the top. And when you cross-check it from the other angle, you'll see that there's a crown coming in at the other angle. Pretty much at this point, we're going to go into some pushing work. I do want this metal pushed up a little bit before I go into any of the crown work. And definitely going to do that right now with some soft tip tools and just kind of get this damage coast along. I want to shallow a lot of this damage up before we actually go into a little bit of crown work. All right, guys, so what I'm going to start off here with is this nice soft tip tool. It has this real nice bend on it that I love in these positions. So I'm actually going to go in through the cavity that we found up here in between the light and the actual fender, and I'm going to drop it down in there and begin working the first part of this damage. So let's jump in here and get to work. All right, guys, so what we're doing here is making these pushes. Now, I'm not trying to finish anything at this point. I'm just trying to coast some metal along and try to get all this damage just up to a decent level to where we can actually go into a nice knockdown session. So we'll start out with the dent that's closest to the headlight and just kind of work our way on down. As you can see, even with the soft tip, guys, I'm just making little pushes. Just being real nice and easy with it. You know, we definitely don't want to make more work for us in the end than what's actually needed. Just taking it easy, kind of shallowing it up to where I know that I'm going to have to go in there with a sharper tool and finish it up. I can actually begin to see the creases now and the lines that are going to need to be repaired with a little bit of a sharper tool. I'm not going to get into the big over molding. I'm going to have to definitely go in from several different angles on damage like this. Our goal now is just to shallow it up. All right, guys, that's enough from that angle. We're going to move further on down the panel. Still using a soft tip for all of our pushing. Again, I have not even began any crown work on this panel. You'll notice there's a lot of dents that I will normally do a lot of the crown work prior to actually getting into pushing. This one's not one of them. I mean, the crown was elongated. It wasn't tight. It wasn't holding in the metal to the point to where it was paramount to knocking that down to coast out the metal. You really got to feel each and every dent that you repair. You know, you got to feel it out, know what you're working with, and decide to make the decision on how you're going to start that dent based off of, you know, sound reasoning. And this one right here, one of the reasons why I made that decision to go ahead and pushing it first and getting some of this metal out of the locked up from the bottom of the deep part of the dents would actually help coast the crown work along during the repair process. It appeared to me that if I would have started out by doing the crown work to begin with, it literally had a chance of sinking the dents in and making them deeper. In a sense, the crown work would have not complemented the dent repair. There is times when you got a dent that's just nothing but crown. You know, you look at that thing, and you've seen several, you know, you folks have probably watched some of the tutorials where some of the large dents that I've done that was just nothing but a crown. And you can definitely distinguish them by the size of the crown that's around them. When you got big roll buckles on the edge of that dent, the more of the dent's going to work out during the crown removal process. So there you have it. I got that one shallowed up enough, and we're going to move on to the next one. All right, everybody, we are moving right along with this soft tip. Going to go ahead and jump into the next dent here. Again, just making nice strategic little pushes. Yeah, this one's a little bit more held in by the crown than the other ones. So this one's actually got a little bit of a crown to it compared to the ones that were further back here. So we're going to see some of that definitely relieved during the crown removal process. If you remember in our earlier video when we were exploring where the crowns were, this was probably the most pronounced area that was carrying a crown up above it. So I'm just going to get some of this pushed out, and I'm going to do my pushes strategically underneath the crown, aiding the crown work when I get in there and do my tapping. So there we have it. That one is shrunk up a little bit here. We'll let me get a couple nice big pushes actually right in there. Great thing about soft tips, you can over mold some areas. So since I have a crown up there above, I actually pushed a nice little high spot in the center of that round dent. And what that's going to do, that's going to be an anchor point, an outward point. And essentially, I created a crown right there that's going to pull from the top of the original crown when I actually go in here and do my crown work. At this point, we'll go ahead and move our light back, and I'm just going to test and see how far I can get into this fender from this little cavity up here. All right, guys, this right here is my next area of attack. And the one thing that I notice here, that this is more crown than anything, but I'm still going to give this center a couple pushes just to give it that pressure that it needs, that whenever I go in through this thing and begin doing all of this crown work, that's going to help just kind of coast right into it. So we'll go ahead and finish this running through at this angle. We're going to take a look at it from another angle, run through it from another angle, and then I'm going to go in and start doing all the blending and all the crown work. Believe it or not, I'm reaching to the middle of this fender from this access point that's real nice. I'm just going to kind of, like I stated here, not looking to fix this thing up perfectly, just give it that many pushes just to help aid whenever we go in here and do this crown work. Now I'm going to see if we can actually jump in here and go right into this dent. All right, guys, I'm about halfway, I'm past the middle of this fender, and I'm still getting leverage from back here. However, I'm kind of running out of leverage pressure because of how far it is away. But this, regardless, is still a great angle just to maintain the beginning of this repair. So I'm going to still stay here. I'm going to push it out. Back here making some strong pushes. You might hear me breathing, huffing and puffing and trying to get some movement up there. You know, some people ask if they should work out to learn how to do this, if they should start working out. I say, yeah, you know, there is times when you're going to have to use some strength over leverage. And so anyhow, I think that's the best I'm going to go from this angle. You know, something that I haven't explored yet is this little plug up here. So let's check it out. As you can see, this right here is the area that I'm actually going through. But we have this thing right here. I don't know. Usually the little plugs like that are good for nothing. They usually drop down into a cavity, but hey, while we're here, let's go ahead and explore it and at least take a look. All right, guys, I was getting excited there for a moment. I should have known. Almost every time something's plugged up in here, it's a worthless hole, which this here is a worthless hole. It just goes into a secondary cavity in here, and it's double paneled. You can't get past it. So we're good. We went through from this angle, and now I'm going to go ahead and come around through the damage from underneath the wheel well. All right, guys, so now I'm going to come in and come down from this specific angle. Literally going to take a soft tip tool, put it up in here, and begin making my pushes, shallowing it up throughout the panel. And, we got my first phase that we actually just pushed it out by hand. That's okay, we moved the bulk of the metal. There's nothing we can change. Once we felt underneath it with our hand and the metal that popped, I mean, it's done. So you can't cross-check that because you've already got all that will come out by moving it that way. Now we actually did our soft tip where we have much more control. We're molding at this point. So I'm actually able to come in here and look at all the angles that I want from this direction and see if I can do anything from this angle to complement basically my game plan of moving a lot of this metal before doing the crown work. Let's go ahead and just jump in here. All right, guys, I think we're all set to go ahead and jump into a little bit of crown work. All right, everybody, we're getting ready to get into our knockdown session here. And I just wanted to give you a quick tip here and clarify exactly kind of the difference between these knockdowns, because I'm going to do something a little bit different. And you know, usually I go in there with this, you've seen this quite a bit, it's basically a steel ball that's coated in rubber. And this is a great knockdown for them nice wide crowns. Now, this one over here, again, because we didn't even relieve the crown pressure to begin with, it's a little bit of a thinner crown, so I'm going to need something with a little bit more accuracy. Now, I don't want to go in with this right yet. It's just, don't need that much accuracy at that point. I need to coast along, move a little bit of metal, make my job easier. I'm actually going to go ahead and go in here, and you've seen this on a lot of Mike's tutorials. This is a soft tip knockdown. Now the big difference between this and this rubber tip is the circumference of the metal that is actually underneath the rubber. So because the circumference of this metal is much tighter and much stronger, and it's at a much stronger peak than this right here, this is going to allow us to pinpoint more metal. In short, it's going to cause the impact point when you're hitting that little panel to be smaller than the rubber one here. So actually just going to go in and start out with this soft tip here. I'm going to make a run through it from one angle, from our original angle. I'm going to come back and make another run through it at the other angle. So let's jump in here and get started. I just wanted to clarify there's definitely a difference in these three knockdowns, and I just wanted to let you know why. All right, everybody, I just want to have you take a look at what stage we're at when we're going to go ahead and go in here for our knockdown session. What we're looking for, again, are crowns like that one right there. Very, very light crowns on this one here. Got some stronger crowns back here towards the back, like that one right there. So nice little strong crown right there. But what I want you to understand is this is what our damage looks like after literally 15 minutes of soft tip work. So we pushed it out with our hand, went into about 15 minutes of soft tip work, and our dent went from this right here, this dent, I mean, look at that, all the way to the point where all the way here. So you see we're doing big movements of metal. I mean, we're moving this thing along and we're trying to put the least effort as possible. We want to be fast. We want to make our job easy. We want to be able to make more money. And that's what these tutorials are about. They're about showing you how to just move these things along and you know, do it clean and do it right. All right, so when we go ahead and scan this panel and go through our knockdown process, this is exactly what we're looking for. And you're going to find this throughout all the way through the panel. But we'll go ahead and we'll start on this one, and little by little we will knock these crowns out one hit at a time. So anything that we missed from this specific angle, we will definitely be able to hit it from the other angle. All right, guys, so we got a nice little crown through here. That's the one earlier that I talked about that I actually kind of pushed this off the edge. And just a note here, I don't know how it looks in the camera, but these are non-aggressive high spots. They were all made with a soft tip. Very, very easy to blend these out with a sharper tip knockdown. But we're not going to get into that yet. We're not down to the definition work. Right now, we're actually to the point to where we're just getting this thing in shape to get into that defining work. So I'm not going to worry about any of that now. I'm just going to keep on moving along and bringing this thing up symmetrical, and that's what's truly important. If you noticed, very nice how that metal just kind of coasts along. And we actually, believe it or not, back behind here, we got a little bit of trap pressure on the other side of the damage. So I'm going to go ahead and scoot the light up. There we go. Now you're seeing it right through there. We'll go ahead and relieve that as well. Now guys, this is what I need you to do through this whole panel. I'm not going to take you through every single one, but they're very, very similar. I need you to take what I'm doing here on this area, on these crowns, and rinse and repeat this throughout the panel. Not only from the direction we're at now, but we go around from the other direction and do the exact same thing. And look at it from every angle. I mean, put your light down like into the crease, going you know, at a vertical angle, and flip it, you know, this way. Flip it all the way up like this, and start looking at it down from that angle. Sit down on the floor, take your light up top, look at it from that angle. You know, that's the type of stuff that actually makes you a great technician, because you don't get stuck in one spot too long. You do your work, you do it right, and then you move along to that next angle, and you're going to find doing things that way it's basically going to speed you up. That's going to cause you what I like to call bobbing and weaving. You know, your head's always bobbing and weaving. As soon as you get comfortable, you leave your head there, you know, boom, you're going to get knocked. You're just going to be sitting there forever, pushing in one angle, looking in one direction. You're not going to be understanding why it's not shaping up, and that's because cross-checking is the key to making this stuff work and making it happen. So we'll keep on moving along here. Now we're coming in from this angle. Again, using the soft tip knockdown and really taking a majority of the peak off of these crowns. Just like anything else in this repair method, you keep getting finer and finer as you go. So you use something that moves a lot of metal, and then you go down to something a little bit, you know, a little bit more pinpoint precision, like a plastic knockdown. And little by little, you go smaller and smaller with your impact shots, until you're actually defining that thing out and pushing up little bitty ripples and little bitty lows. As of right now, we're just going to go through with this, and then I'm literally going to turn the light back around, and I'm going to do another run through knockdown session with just our nylon tip knockdown. So we'll go ahead and take a shot of that. Anything that you applied from our last video of actually knocking down these crowns, you just take that what I taught you there and apply it at this specific angle. So I'm not gonna run you through every single little crown and ripple. That would make the video would be very boring if we did that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get in here and push through it, and we will jump back in as soon as we're ready to go into with the sharper knockdown. But I want to go ahead and start this off and let you take a look at how we're going to be doing it here. I'm actually sitting down so my head is level to the vehicle. I can bring my head in real nice and tight and tap my crowns just like that. And just go in here and begin knocking down. You can literally see the pressure just melting into the dent. I mean, that's what you want. And it's not getting any lower at all. We're at the point now to where we're stabilizing it and making it level with the surrounding panel. And as soon as we finish with this knockdown work, it's going to be a breeze. I mean, we will get to the point to where we're at an exchange, to where we're going, you know, knockdown, push, knockdown, push, knockdown, push. But when we finally get to that level where we're at that real close exchange, I mean, we're doing finishing work at that point. So it's absolutely all downhill from there. All right, guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about why I attack this the way that I did. One of the reasons is because I wanted to take this big dent and basically change it into multiple little dents, okay? Now, at that point, I can treat each and every section, you know, as its own individual smaller dent. All right, you know, it used to be in the past I would want to finish out one section perfect at a time, but I realized that that was a lot of exchange between tools, you know? What I had actually found is that you need to like put this in your mind that you broke it up into like 4 or 5 different sections, okay? You go into each and every section independently and break it up in phases, you know, where you're gonna go in and do this and do it to all of them, so you're not going with that time-consuming tool exchange. If you're anything like me, I walk across my shop and I lay my tool somewhere and I'm looking for it for 15, 20 minutes. And then when I find it, it's where I laid it, you know, I try to stay away from that. I just want to find different ways, different techniques to move these things along much more fluent. And that's exactly what we're doing over here on this repair. So pay attention to that small stuff and just apply it into what you're doing, and I'm sure that you will be amazed with the results. I just wanted to point that out and make sure that you took a mental note of that. All right, everybody, so I want to show you the level that we're at before going in with the hammer and knockdown process. So I'm going to go ahead and go in with this sharper knockdown and work my way across it just like we did. I mean, just like we did to begin with. I'm going to take passes from one angle and then come back in from the other angle. So let's go ahead and let's go check it out. All right, everybody, here it is. This is, let me get a little close up here for you. You can see we definitely have some lows to work. And definitely some little spots here and there that need to be worked out. One thing that you're going to notice about these, though, none of them are aggressive whatsoever. So this is basically taking each and every individual area and pushing it up just like a regular dent. And this is all from going through with that soft tip tool and then going through there with a soft tip knockdown. At this point, I'm going to run through it and open it up a little bit with a sharper tip knockdown, as we just talked about there. And then at that point, we're going to go ahead and go in there with a nice sharper tip tool, kind of more, I think I'm going to go in with a bullet tip before we attempt to put in a super sharp tip. I do not even know if we'll get there on this one because we've kept everything nice and soft throughout the process. Here, essentially what I'm doing here is blending the area out. So got some of this stuff around here. We're just trying to get rid of some of the ridges in between any of these little lows. Basically just softening the area and getting it prepped to begin making some push work. So I'll go ahead and show you exactly how that's going to be done. Just kind of opening that whole area up, getting it ready, essentially changing it into a little bitty ding that can easily be pushed out. So literally when I come in here for my push marks, I'm just going to have to hit here, hit here, hit here, hit here, and then, you know, of course, do a little cross-checking. Hit down in through here, you know, back in through here. We'll definitely do a little bit of tap work, opening that up. Actually, you're getting this entire area prepped to begin your push work. Let's go a little bit further into the panel. I want to work on this one that's a little bit more aggressive, and that'll give you just a better idea there. All right, guys, now I've moved you up kind of right in through this area here. And sorry about the panel here. It's going to need polished quite a bit. That literally, that's not tap marks. That's actually just kind of dirt on the panel. Been trying to keep it clean throughout the process, but you know how it is. Let me come up here and show you something here. I'm just going to kind of go through and relieve this pressure from these deeper pits, getting these deeper pits ready to be pushed on. I'm going to do that by just taking out any type of high marks that we use to put in there. I'm going to do that by taking out any kind of like high spots, like this one right here, that we use to coast that crown along, and just kind of blend them back into the original panel. And we'll open this up just a little bit, making it real nice and easy to get a tool in there and push up them little lows. Because essentially, these now are just a couple little creases. And you got lows coming in from this angle, which we won't worry about this from looking at it this way. We're not going to worry about that. That comes in during our cross-check angle, because this crease runs from here to here. It's better repaired looking at it from the opposite angle and positioning your light to where it's actually going against the grain and working it like a crease essentially needs to be worked. So let's go ahead and get in here and start doing some tap work. See, now you can see right here where I did do an aggressive tap. Hey, that's okay. I mean, that's literally what we're trying to avoid by using the soft tip knockdown. But hey, you know, occasionally we'll make some mistakes. I got a couple up through here that are definitely going to need to be pushed up. But you know what? We've opened this thing up. We've got rid of that pressure that was pushing the edge. And I'm telling you, when we get a tool on this thing, it's going to be much, much easier to repair. So what you want to do is you want to rinse and repeat this throughout the entire panel with the sharper tip knockdown. I'm going to try to minimize my miss strikes here, but a lot of it is I'm actually tapping and trying to look through the camera at the same time. Just want to make sure that you get that same visual and that same look that I have when looking at this repair, and you're getting that exact same experience. Just go ahead and rinse and repeat this exercise all the way through the panel from this angle, and then we're going to go in from our opposite angle again and do just our defining tap work. And we're just going to do the same process, rinse and repeat, and just go through this, this with our sharper tip knockdown here, looking at it down from this angle. All right, so now that we've went through and done our knockdown work, we're definitely at a point where we can begin going in there with something similar to a bullet tip tool. This one it's about the same size tip as a bullet tip. It's not a super sharp one. When you touch it on the end, you know, it doesn't hurt your finger at all. In fact, this one had been ground down early on, just making it a little bit more of a blunt push. So what I'm going to be doing is just going through this entire damage, doing exactly how we did starting with that soft tip, but now we're just defining the size of the tip because we're at the point where we can actually get in and start doing some definition work. So come on over here. We're going to be going straight in through the same cavity up through here and doing our pushing work directly from here. We'll come on over here and take a look at it. All right, everybody, so this right here, I'm kind of gonna put on like one of the worst areas that I have to contend with here. So that way you can kind of apply what I'm doing here to the rest of the panel. And I will tell you, we're at a level now where we're gonna begin the exchange between the pushing and the hammer and knockdown work. So you're gonna get areas like this that have a couple deep little creases in there that are going to need a little bit of that over molding to actually get the center of them out. And, you know, little by little, you can see I actually made a little bitty slip there. So that's not a massive slip like some that I've done before, but hey, you know what? It's part of the territory. Occasionally your tools slip a little bit, and you just caught me doing one. So here's an example of how far I'm going to push that center. And now I'm going to go in for an exchange with knockdown work. I'm actually going to, if you remember earlier, we had this little spot that I mispushed. I'm going to push that up first. Try to get everything going symmetrical before I go in here with my knockdown work. So there we go. I'm going to jump in here and do a little bit of knockdown work, and it's rinse and repeat until we flatten it out and make it nice and level. I'm going to go ahead and jump in there, grab my hammer and knock down. And go in there and start shaping the panel. So little by little, I'm going to open it up and I'm going to come back down through here and sweep, do some pushes down in through here, do some pushes in the middle again, and then tap it out. Part of what is holding this dent from becoming flush to the panel, as I stated to begin with, there's a crease that runs the length of this panel. I gotta go in and sit down, sit my butt on the ground, look straight up at it, put my light way up at the top, and actually run through and fix this entire crease. I'm gonna do what I can on each one. I'm gonna get it out to the point to where I think it will complement that crease whenever I go down there and actually begin working it from that angle. So continue watching, and we're gonna keep on pushing this thing little by little. Again, just treat every spot as an individual dent. And now, again, another knockdown session. See, each and every time we go in to one of them little sessions where we're over molding And tapping down, the damage just continuously becomes smaller. And now, again, another knockdown session. Knocking down. That's just the way it always is when you begin finishing out a larger dent. You just begin to the point where you get in this big time exchange. Push, 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 tap, 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 push, 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 tap, tap, tap. And that's always when you're in the finishing process, which is a tremendous thing because you're getting closer and closer to being done with the repair. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run through this panel little by little, just shallow this whole thing up. And then we're going to go into our big time cross-checking angle and get this thing set for a nice finishing touch. So again, guys, just taking all my pushes right here from throughout this whole panel and then going in here and doing all of my knockdown work. Just like we did on that one spot right here, we're going to want to go ahead and do that to every single area. You're basically just trying to raise the entire area up and make it nice and symmetrical to where we can go into that strong cross-checking angle. I'm going to go ahead and run through this panel and we'll take a look at it before we go into our major cross-checking angle. All right, everybody, now that I ran through it from this angle up here, I got something of a similar tool that I'm actually going to go in up underneath the fender liner and I'm going to take a run through it from this direction. This is all prior to me going into that real strong crease checking position where I'm sitting on the floor looking up to it. And then I'm going to explain to you exactly how I'm going to iron out that last bit of the crease and how we're going to define the end of this repair. Very, very similar tip. So we're all good there. Same type of tip. And I'm just going to get in here and push up some tiny little lows from this angle. You know, another thing that you might notice is while I'm doing this repair, guys, the same principle. You take the light up close to get the center of the damage out. The more that it shallows up, you push it tighter to the car and further back. All right, everybody, so now we got it ironed out to the point to where I can begin going in to that big crease check angle. So I'm not going to fight little lows at this angle any longer because we're going to go ahead and look at it from that crease angle. And let me kind of show you what I mean. You can get a preview of this little crease that I'm talking about right there. You see it? That is running through a majority of the dent. All right, everybody, I want you to go ahead and see my setup here. We have the light sitting here on the floor up above and angled in so I can sit down and look up at the crease. All right, guys, so this right here is my view. So I'm going to be able to identify any little lows from this angle and just kind of shape that panel up. Got a nice little crown right there as well. If you can see that from this angle, right there. You can see where the fog just kind of starts to pinch together a little bit. And you can actually see the crease right there. So there's little shallow flat spots throughout this whole panel. This is probably the deepest little part of the crease, but definitely got to get it worked up from this angle prior to going in to, I'm so happy to say this, our final cross check. All right, everybody, so jumping into position here, again, now I'm down here and my head can actually go lower than the panel so I can look way up here while I'm doing my pushing. And I'm going to do this like so. Slide my tool in here, get it positioned, find my little crease through here, and just leverage push right here off the tire. I'm going to go ahead and iron this crease out, and then we're going to go in for one final cross-checking angle, basically just finishing up, pushing up little bitty lows here and there. And even when down here in a position to where you're working a crease out from the floor up, don't be afraid to, you know, right now I'm kind of working it with a close fog, working at the bottom of the crease. I'm going to literally elevate the light a little bit and take it further away in this direction, giving me that tighter angle that I need to do my finishing work. So just keep in mind that these general principles in dent removal basically apply to every single cross-checking angle, especially when you're doing large advanced dents like this. It's just it's important to follow all them principles to a T, and you'll find yourself working these things out great. And you know, I have confidence in you. So now we're at the level where we went ahead and got our cross-checking done from sitting right there on the ground. Now I'm actually going to go in and start blending little waves out from a long distance using this blending hammer. Again, this goes back to my, some of my other tutorials of knot hammer and knockdown versus blending hammer. So we took advantage of the precise precision of a hammer and knockdown to lay them down just right. And now that we have subtle waves throughout this panel, we're going to be able to get way back and just tap, tap, tap them little waves and blend it and lay this panel down. Now, after we get to that point to where we get it nice and blended out, we're going to do our final work here. We're actually going to go again in right up through here and make a run across here with a real nice bullet tip tool and take a look at it from another angle, and we're going to be all finished up. So stay tuned. We'll keep on moving through this thing, and we'll jump in here and do a little bit of blending. And just a quick note here, we are going to be blending this out from both angles. Guys, so after all this blending, we're going to go ahead and go in for our final cross-checking work. Basically just pushing up some of these little lows, knocking down some of these little waves, and we're going to get this thing dialed in. I mean, it's at a level now to where it is absolutely sellable, but we're going to go and take it one step further and just try to get out any single little ripples and waves that are in here. So again, going to be cross-checking it from two different angles, up in through this access point, and then down here through the bottom access point underneath the wheel liner. All right, everybody, I have decided not to use a sharp tip on this whatsoever. No need, no stretched metal. Definitely just going to go in here again with these same tools that you've seen here with the same style tip. And although this time I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach, I'm going to go through it from this angle first, then I'm going to come through it from that angle because I want that angle up there to be my last very, very finishing angle. I have decided throughout the repair process that that angle was definitely, you could see much more because you're in a much more comfortable position. You can bring your head down and bring it closer to the panel while having full control at a further distance. All right, guys, I just want you to see what I'm seeing when I'm talking about picking out these little bitty lows. I'm just literally going in here. You see how I had a little mismatch of texture there? And I'm just going through the panel, pushing little spots, closing up that little mismatch in texture. And then see, as I get through this spot right here, I'm actually going to go ahead and move on to the next. So I'm going to go further into the panel. So that's what I mean when I talk about picking orange peel. Then we got a little spot up here. Just a little bitty spot, a little bitty wave. We're just picking every spot out. We got a little spot right there. We're going to just go through it, push the light further and further back, making each and every little one of these pushes blending out the orange peel. So that's the stage that we're at here. You want to rinse and repeat this process further and further into the panel. So each time you get a little section finished, you take your light and push it back. And just keep on doing that throughout the panel. And this is my last final pass, guys. So going to go ahead and jump in here, finish this up, rinse and repeat what I just showed you right there when it comes to picking orange peel clean. And take it back at the furthest tight angle, do a few taps, do a little bit of exchange, make it nice and flat, and you will be all finished up with a repair like this. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and we'll go ahead and take a shot of the after. There you have it, all finished up. And definitely not perfect, but we told the client, our customer here, that we could just do the best we could on a dent that's that severe. So I just want to take a final shot of it here, and we'll go ahead, we'll do a natural shot of it outside as well. So there you have it, guys. Let me go ahead and get you a natural shot. Let's take it over here. There you have it, guys. We will see you on the next one. I want to go over just a few things that we learned during this process. Number one, try to move as much metal along at a time on a dent like this. Number two, we want to break that dent up into multiple dents and then isolate them during our repair process. Number three, we want to keep on rolling through there with each stage of our repair process so we're not switching back and forth between tools if we just stay on one specific dent. You know, for instance, one of the things that I talked about during this repair was that I went through everything with a soft tip. Pushed it out by hand, then went through everything with just a soft tip, then went through everything with a sharper tip, went through everything with a certain tip knockdown, then we went to the next level knockdown. Basically what that does, that just keeps you on track to where you're not interchanging with too many tools. And you're not just going back and forth, and then moving on to another area and going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Something else that we learned, that these large dents right here, you want to tackle them from multiple angles. You know, lay down, get that crease angle. When you see something, make sure you become a detective and you find it. You identify which way the crease is going. You get your head down there and you look at it from that direction. That's what's going to make you a fluent technician. The customer is going to love this repair. They did not spend near as much going to a body shop. I didn't spend near as much time as if, you know, for instance, we promised a 90% removal on this. And they were just absolutely ecstatic about that. They took it to a body shop and they wanted to replace the fender, or potentially another body shop actually wanted to Bondo it even worse. So, you know, in the great scheme of things, this is an amazing opportunity for shops to get involved in doing repairs for clients, making them happy, and doing an amazing repair, and you make a decent amount of money because, you know, with these methods that we're teaching you, it's not going to take you near as long. This is not an all-day repair. This is a 2-hour max repair. So I'm going to say 2 hours max. Now I filmed it, and that's a different scenario, but 2 hours of steady head down, you know, working is what typically a repair like this takes. You know, I don't know about you, I'm not going to discuss pricing on what we charged here, but let's just say we did real well on this repair work. So there you have it. There's some things that you learned about doing a large dent removal here, and we'll go ahead and I'm happy to have you here watching these tutorials, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.